Yesterday we spoke about the Bible, which is like a manual to us. And I just love how God used in the Bible examples of people's life. And He used what we are going through till this day as an example for others. Well, when I read about David, he was a king and he fought his DNA. He really battled also the stuff that was written on his genes, on his DNA. And that was part of his battle. So he was just a normal man. And there was a lot of good things happening for him, but his life was pretty much a battle. So sometimes I see when I sit with people that they would cry and say, my life is a battle. And yeah, I know. When last did you read about David's life? So we try sometimes to focus, or most of us, when we talk about David, we know he was a king and the good things that he done. But then we also think of Goliath. That's the greatest thing that we think about David. How he overcome Goliath. But you know, when you read in the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel 30, you read about some different story. You see a man that was down and out. In fact, the word speaks about that. He was crying so much. There was nothing left in him. Do you know that place? Now, those places are normally the places where we are faced with the true condition of our hearts, or something that we were squeezed out and we saw what come out of us. And that's hard to face the reality. But in facing the reality, you have choices. And in that choices, you can follow what God says, or you can follow man. Now, many times when it's so ugly and you bring your ugliness to man, they would say, oh no, you're beyond repair. Oh no, your bloodline is just too bad. But that's not what God said. God said, I sent my son. When I saw that, what's happening in the bloodline and how the enemy used the darkness in man, I sent my son. And there's always hope because Jesus and his blood. The only thing is you need to choose. You need to choose to be healed. You need to choose to face those giants. You need to choose to face the battle. Now let's see how David did it. There was a battle, and David he was warring against the Philistines, okay? And he and his men returned, and when they arrived, they were told back in their camp, they were told that the Amalekites attacked their city. And they burned it. And they took their wives and their children. It's like your life's falling apart and God is starting to reveal to you the true condition of your heart. And you realize the enemy has stolen from you all these years, your life, your family, your destiny. He's stolen from you. So I can just imagine what David had to go through, and the men, they were devastated, and they were really crying, and the Bible says until they're physically exhausted. So for David, it actually got worse. Not only did he lose his family, you know what happened? People start blaming him, and they say to him, it's your fault, and they start stoning him. It's a very bad day for David, you know, to find out what's in your camp, to find out what's in your heart, and then you bring that condition to somebody, and somebody can say to you, oh, you're beyond repair. But you see, Jesus will never say that to you. But to bring your heart to the Lord, He's going to ask you to do something. You can't just bring your condition to the Lord and feel sorry for yourself. You have to do something. And David did. Everybody stoned him, tell him how bad he was. And that's man. Just because man doesn't have it in us. We can't see what God can do. So David doubted in his heart, and he was crying. And And then he ran to the Lord. He asked for more wisdom, more favor. He asked of God, you should please help me. I don't even know what's going on here. I don't know how to do this. And he was greatly tormented in his mind. Yes, he was just normal. His mind was overthinking. What did I do wrong? How could this happen? Could this be? You know, sometimes if this stuff come out of our spirit heart, I can see how we are all. I was there myself, and still every day as I'm walking this journey. Oh, can this be? Can this be? Can this be the condition of my heart? And you are weeping in front of God with that. And everything felt like crushing on him. He had two alternatives, like you and me. He could run to God or the world. If we run to the world, people can tell you, you're beyond. I'm sorry, I can't help you. Or people can say to you, I will take your hand, but you need to do your part. And God sent people over our path. Then we have to look the truth in the eyes, and we have to do our part. And God will do the rest. God will open the veil. He will reveal. He will give you wisdom. He will give you understanding. He will give you grace. Or you can run to the world as well. You can get drunk. There are many things that you can turn to yourself. You can lock yourself up. You can never speak to other people. You can agree with Satan, constantly agree with Satan, and just put more fire on, and make the enemy's camp stronger because he's got you to agree with him. You can do all that. But I look at what David did. He chose to strengthen himself in the Lord. He ran to God. He chose to strengthen himself in God. I just love that word, because that's actually our only alternative. And then he asked him, what should I do? And God gave him an answer. This, my version, give me your hands. He pulled him up, gave him a strong hug. He looked him in the eyes. He says, I know everything in you. I know your bloodline. I know why the enemy attacked you like this. But I'm going to send people over your path, and they're going to help you. They're going to give you strategy. And I'm going to be with you. But keep your eyes on me, not on man. It would be a bad, sad day, because cursed is the man who puts his trust on man. But blessed is the man who puts his trust on the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And God told him, go back, attack the Amalekites, and took everything back, what they have stolen from you. The lost should be recovered. And this is the journey of healing. The enemy took so much. He manipulated us. He controlled us. He played with us. And you know, the front person was just in denial, Christ mind mentality, that we think we serve the Lord and we do love him, but we are blinded what goes on behind and in the back. And God says, you know what, I'm going to lift the veil, but I'm going to give you strategy, and I'm going to lead you, and I'm going to put people over your path. And then as David then got up and he said, okay, I have to start this journey. Real life, this is why we put those prayer manuals out there, so that you can start the journey. There in your place, you can start the journey. And then having a prayer counselor that can help you through when there's a stuck and you struggle. And as they started, they came across this Egyptian man, and he was starved and he was dehydrated. He was lying on the side of the road, and they helped him because they had Jesus, God, in their heart then. And they helped him and gave him food and everything. And then they realized that this man was in the Amalekites' army, and he has all the strategy. He knew where's the camp. He knew how to fight them. He knew everything. That this man was sent by God. And then they started attacking the Amalekite army. And the inner cry of David, God heard. And then everything turned for David. He went in there and he fought it. He fought it, and his he was fighting for a comeback, to take his setback, bring it to God, and God turned it around for a comeback. That's who God is. But there was something that he had to do. He had to follow God's instructions. So yes, it's terrifying when we find out the condition that my city is broken, my destiny was stolen, my birthright was stolen. It's devastating. But don't ever stop when anybody tells you on this earth, oh, you're beyond repair. That's a lie. That's a lie. The only thing that will stop you from healing is yourself, if you don't follow what God gives you to do. God sent this man on his path. Didn't look like the perfect man. He didn't have the biggest ministry. He didn't have the biggest office. No, he was actually lying there down the road and everybody just passed him. But he had something that he could give that was valuable. And then after they got everything back, David did what God told him to do. They recovered their wives, so they recovered their children. They even got the Amalekites' flock and their herd. They got that as well. That's so God. And that's what I call your setback was exchanged for a comeback. My dear friend, Jesus, he is the answer. Don't ever fall into a performance thing that you need to perform to be perfect for man. God has his ways. Follow God's instruction. He can use that man that looks so bad. He can use you to help you. He can use anybody. Don't give up if man gives up on you. God can never give up on you, but follow his instructions. It's those prayer manuals people will say to me often in time, it's difficult for me to work through that. Yes, David also didn't feel like it. You have to follow what God says. And I'm not saying, thus says the Lord. You go and pray. You go and find out. You know, when you pray that manuals and you feel you're stuck, get somebody to pray with you. Get a counselor to pray with you. Pray and it's just like David. God kept on sending people over his path. But continue, follow the journey with God. Because he's going to change and take your setback and he's going to turn it around for a comeback. That's what I call bounce back. And you know, in this journey, it's not woof, everything was returned. In my journey, I can see step by step, God brings healing, restoration. And I'm at a place where I can't listen to what the world says. I need to fix my eyes on what God says and behold him. So my dear friends, I just want to bless you with a wonderful day. Last night I had load shedding. That means that parts of the country has electricity and other parts don't have. So I was in the dark last night having a good time with the Lord. And this morning when I woke up, again not electricity. So this time the whole town's off and they don't know what's wrong. But God, so give us endurance, Lord. I just bless you. May you have a wonderful day. If it's in the battle, if it's in the what season ever, rejoice because God is on the throne.